Plenty Valley FM presents Sig's Flicks.
All right. Good morning, Sig. How are you?
I'm good. Always so many films to impart and so little time, as I say. It's going through all these films. But I want to talk about a new film before we get on to the French Film Festival, which is currently screening. But a new one that just come to light, Immaculate, is of interest. Not great interest, but you guys might want to check it out. It's from director Michael Mohan, and it comes in at 88 minutes, pretty succinct time. But this one stars Sydney Sweeney, and now you may know her from the TV show White Lotus. She's also in the other big movie at the moment, Anyone But You. It's a wonderfully received. Pretty average film, but it's quite a good by the numbers romantic comedy with Glenn Powell. You may remember one of the pilots with Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick. She's quite good in that. It's very popular. But this one, Immaculate, is not the best, but it's a bit of fun, and it goes through a few things, and you can see where it has borrowed from films previously, but we have once again from director Michael Mohan, and in this one, Sydney Sweeney, she plays a young nun who's pretty wide-eyed and innocent. They're in her 20-somethings, and she comes to Italy from Detroit, Michigan, of all places, and she's got no idea about the Italian language, but she goes there, and she's drawn to to become a nun and to become devote a Catholic servant to God through a childhood accident where she fell to the ice and miraculously survived, and she reckons as a result of that she is destined to serve God, and she goes away to this convent, which is actually for older and sick and dying nuns in the country, Italy, and out on its own in this nunnery, which is pretty well isolated, and things go a bit strange, and I will admit it does get a bit bloody. There are some wonderful and deep and dark things going on in the middle of the night, as you can imagine, without getting into too much detail, because you want to see this film to work it out yourselves. But she has helped a bit translated by some of the things she gets to understand some things by Father Sal Tedeschi, and it's played quite well by Alvaro Morte, and he is pretty smooth and charming, a little bit too smooth and charming, I think, and he helps her through things and is a bit supportive, and he wants to help her, find her way in this nunnery. There are very interesting things. There's secrets in this convent which are quite interesting. For example, they reputedly have in their possession one spikes used in the actual crucifixion of Jesus, and they use this in the film in a few things. So we've got some nuns wandering around the corridors at night, and we also have nuns wearing red masks. They appear from the shadows occasionally and wonder where they are. We've got fairly stern Sister Isabel, and she's pretty cold and calculating, and she's got a pretty bad attitude towards things, and she likes to play things very definitely by the book, and she helps our young Sister Cecilia out on some things. We got a Mother Superior who's got a red file actually containing her picture and some information about her, and so we wonder, what's going on here? Why does she have that? Is there something more happening here that we want to find out? And when we have our young Sister Cecilia is injured in an in-house accident, we they dissuade her from going to the hospital. I don't know if they can do it in-house. And she's a bit curious about that. She wants to find her own way on this one. And as we have a lot of pretty, not the best jump scare scenes, which are pretty loud. You know, we have, for example, a bird hitting a window. You know, we get some things that sort of jump out, you see a little bit, but they become a little bit predictable after a while. And it doesn't have quite a lot of, attention and build-up of suspense. And it hangs a lot on Sydney Sweeney and her acting, and she's getting a bit better, but still you don't have that real sense of foreboding and a real sense of fear that you would expect to get from an actor in a situation where these things happened. And we do have the situation where a woman does have a right to choose her way in this one, and the church is often takes away that freedom, and we have the church patriarchy supported by some of the father, as I said, Father Sal, and also the cardinal who comes in and is sometimes implicit in what goes on. So we have a lot going on here with Immaculate, and you might want to see it. It's a bit of fun to go through. You see, seen some of these things before, but Sydney Sweeney is a rising star. You might want to check this one out. So that's screening now. So it could be fun for you. Now, do we have a few messages before we get on with the French Film Festival?
Messages, yes. Well, thank you very much, Sig. You're listening to your local station, 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. This is Valley Lifestyles of Hilary and Tony, and we'll be on air next week at 8:45 with Sig Anderson as well. Bye for now.
Station, Plenty Valley FM. This is Plenty Valley FM News.
Hello, I'm Sarah Warmby. Australia will need 90,000 more tradespeople in the next 3 months to meet national housing targets. Research from Build Skills established by the federal government has found a major productivity overhaul is required to reach the 1.2 million new home goal by 2029. The federal government is vowing to put an end to price gouging of people relying on the NDIS. Alexander Nimmo has the details.
Participants of the NDIS will receive a letter this week outlining how recipients and their carers can combat the wedding tax phenomenon that's plaguing the system. This is part of NDIS Minister Bill Shorten's new task force aimed at protecting recipients from price gouging and prosecuting those taking advantage of them. Those found breaching the new law may face penalties including permanent banning, infringement and compliance notices, and civil financial penalties. Mr. Shorten telling News Corp the era of ripping off disabled people on the NDIS is over.
Disaster victim identification officers from Brisbane have been sent to Maryborough on Queensland's Fraser Coast after a triple fatality on Friday night. 5 vehicles, including 2 semi-trailers, collided at an intersection with lithium batteries on one of the trucks, sparking a huge fire. A 53-year-old male SUV driver and 2 truck drivers died. Superintendent Paul Algie.
I've spoken to the officers that attended the scene, not all of the officers yet, but I can assure you it was incredibly distressing. The Disaster Victim Identification Unit only comes to scenes like aeroplane crashes, so I think that gives you a clear picture of the scene that they were confronted with. Very distressing.
An Uber driver allegedly behind the wheel during a hit and run in Sydney's east last weekend has faced court for the first time. Marcelia Eiley reports.
Zisiko Katatsius walked out of custody on bail and took the train home. He's accused of being behind a suspected hit and...
Also in news, refugees are calling on the federal government to redirect funding for nuclear submarines to allow for more permanent visas to be granted. Tasmanian Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe has all but declared victory in the state's election last night. In South Australia, a big shock and reality check for the state Liberals after early results from the Dunstan by-election indicate it's likely to be won by Labor. And a pod of dolphins has forced the cancellation of one of the biggest sailing events in the world, the Sail GP race in New Zealand. Despite 22,000 tickets being sold to watch the event in Christchurch, the race was abandoned after several extended delays were caused by the dolphins congregating near the starting line. This is Air News. To AFL, the Demons have cruised to a 93-38 win over the Hawks at the MCG. Coach Simon Goodwin says there was a lot to like about the game.